At the end of this topic, you will be able to discuss the importance of biological classification, classification and taxonomy. We use various systems of classification in our everyday life. For example, in your school, you are classified by your class, age, color, height, and so on. If you go to a library where books are randomly placed and not in order, where would you begin? How will you identify the books that you need? It will take more time and leave you completely tired of searching. When books are placed in order, you can take the book you want without wasting time and energy. Similarly, to avoid confusion, waste of time, loss of energy, and make things clear, biologists have organized living things with similarities so that it will be easy to study and identify them. The process of identifying and grouping living organisms based on their similarities is called classification. The science of classification is called taxonomy. History of classification. Records on history of classification begin with the 4th century BC. Aristotle, a Greek philosopher in the 4th century BC, from 384 to 322 BC, divided organisms into two groups, plants and animals. He divided animals into blood and bloodless. He also divided animals into three groups according to how they move, that is, walk, fly or swim, land, air or water. His system was used until the 1600s. Charaka, an Indian doctor of 1st century AD, described 200 plants and animals. John Ray used the word species for the first time as the basic unit for classification. Carolus Linnaeus, 1758, introduced the binomial nomenclature. He wrote 2 books on the classification of living organisms, Species Plantarum for plants and Systema Naturae for animals. Binomial nomenclature. Common names of a particular organism may vary among languages. It differs from place to place. For example, buzzard refers to a hawk in the United Kingdom. Buzzard refers to a vulture in the United States. Hence, common names cannot be used in the classification system. In biology, each species needs an international name. This international name helps biologists throughout the world to refer and use it. Carolus Linnaeus, a Swedish naturalist in the mid-1700s, devised a system of grouping organisms into hierarchical categories based on specific characteristics. It formed the framework for binomial nomenclature and system of classification. Hence, Carolus Linnaeus is known as the father of our modern system of classification. The naming of an organism is called nomenclature. The nomenclature that biologists throughout the world use is called the binomial system. Bi means two, nomial means naming, nomenclature means system of. In binomial nomenclature, each species is assigned a 2-part scientific name. The first one belongs to the genus and the second name is the specific name for that organism. Example: Homo sapiens is the scientific name given to man. Homo refers to genus and sapiens is the species name. The person who identifies the species first and updates any new information about the species will also be included in the naming system. For example, if the international name is written as Homo sapiens Linnaeus, the last name Linnaeus refers to the first person who described the species. Binomial nomenclature, key features. The key features of the binomial system of nomenclature. The first name is the genus name. The second name is the species name. The first letter of the genus name is given in capital letter. The species name is always given in small letter. Both the genus and species name is italicized when they are printed. The name has to be underlined when it is handwritten.
In this topic, you have learnt binomial system of nomenclature developed by Carolus Linnaeus is the current scientific system of naming the species. Scientific names must be either Latin or Latinized. The name of the genus begins with a capital letter. The name of the species begins with a small letter. At the end of the topic, you will be able to enumerate the criteria for 5-kingdom classification. List the characteristic features of 5 kingdoms. Cite examples for each of the 5 kingdoms. R. H. Whitaker was an American plant ecologist. He was the first to propose the 5-kingdom classification of the world's biota based on their evolutionary relationships. In 1969, he classified the organisms into 5 kingdoms. This classification has been accepted by all scientists. The criteria for 5-kingdom classification are as follows. Complexity of cell structure, that is, prokaryote to eukaryote. Mode of nutrition, autotrophs and heterotrophs. Body organization, unicellular or multicellular. Phylogenetic or evolutionary relationship.
5-kingdom system of classification. According to the new system of classification, all living organisms are divided into 5 kingdoms. They are Monera, Protista, Fungi, Plantae and Animalia. Kingdom Monera. Organisms of this kingdom are the most primitive organisms. They are single-celled and microscopic. They do not have well-developed cell structures. They may have a rigid cell wall. They derive energy required for their living by various methods. Some by decomposing organic material, some by preparing their own food by fixing carbon dioxide using light or chemical reactions. Some of them are parasites causing diseases, while some live in other organisms without causing any harm to them through a process called symbiosis. Monerans live under extreme environmental conditions. For example, bacteria in the stomach. Some at temperatures as high as 80 degrees Celsius. Some in the absence of oxygen, and some require very high amounts of salt. Examples for Monerans are several types of bacteria and blue-green algae. Kingdom Protista. These are single-celled microscopic organisms with a well-developed and distinct cell structure. Some in colonies with division of labor in the colony. This kingdom has 2 phyla, Chlorophyta and Protozoa. Kingdom Fungi. They are generally filamentous, and the filaments may be found either on the surface or inside the body of decaying organisms. These filaments do not have chlorophyll. They obtain food by releasing chemicals which dissolve the organic matter of plants and animals. The fungus then absorbs the dissolved matter as food. Fungi are called scavengers of the earth because they clean up the surface of the earth by decomposing and decaying process. Some fungi are parasitic and attack living organisms, causing various diseases. Fungi produce spores which germinate under favorable conditions to produce a mass of new filaments. Some examples are moles, mildews, mushrooms, toadstools, slime molds, rusts and smuts. Kingdom Plantae. Kingdom Plantae is also called metaphyta. Plants belong to this kingdom. They are multicellular and have rigid cell walls around their cells. Different types of cells in the plant body perform different functions. The size of the plants in this group is highly variable, from few millimeters to several meters. Chloroplasts are present either in all the cells or in some specialized areas of the plant, such as leaves. Some of them produce flowers for reproduction, while some produce spores. Plants produce oxygen and serve as a food material required for animals, including man. The kingdom Plantae is divided into 2 phyla. They are phylum Bryophyta, comprising of mosses and liverworts, and phylum Tracheophyta, containing all other plants. Kingdom Animalia. Kingdom Animalia is also called metazoa. Animals do not have chlorophyll and cannot synthesize their own food. Animals obtain energy through respiration and can sense and respond to their environment. Based on the presence and absence of backbone, They are classified into invertebrates, that is, without backbones, and vertebrates with backbones.
In this topic, you have learnt the 5 kingdoms proposed by R.H. Whittaker are Monera, Protista, Fungi, Plantae and Animalia. The kingdom Monera comprises all bacteria and the cyanobacteria. Animals like Protista are called protozoans. Protozoans include amoeba and paramecium-like animals. Fungi are eukaryotic and mostly multicellular. The body is made up of filamentous hyphae. Kingdom Plantae includes all multicellular plants of land and water. All animals show heterotrophic mode of nutrition. They directly or indirectly depend on plants for their basic requirements, particularly food.